Hi everyone, it's me again, your teacher in math, Ma'am Lay. Now, so our next lesson is about factoring perfect square trinomial. Paano ba natin malalaman na ang trinomial ay perfect square trinomial? So, syempre, ang unang criteria dapat the polynomial is a trinomial. If we say trinomial, it composed of three terms. So in our example, we have three terms. The first term is x squared, the second term is 8x, and the third term is 16. And the second criteria is the first term must be a perfect square. And next is the last term must be a perfect square also. And next, the middle term should be twice the product of the square root coefficient of the first and the last term. Ano ang ibig sabihin nun? Ang square root ni x squared is x. The square root of 16 is 4. Pag minultiply natin si x at saka si 4, that is 4x. Sabi dyan, twice the product. So, twice the 4x, that is equal to 8x. So, our example is an example of a perfect square trinomial. Now, let us consider these examples. Is it a perfect square trinomial or not? R squared minus 8r plus 16. R squared is a perfect square. 16 is also a perfect square. Since the square root of r squared is r, and the square root of 16 is 4, and the product of r and 4 is 4r, and twice of it is 8r, which is the middle term. Therefore, our first example is a perfect square trinomial. Number 2, tatlo ang term, x squared, 14x, at 49. Ang first term ay x squared. Perfect square siya. The last term is 49. Perfect square din siya. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 49 is 7. Pag tinimes mo si x at saka si 7, that is 7x. Then twice it, 14x. Yung middle term natin is 14x. Therefore, our second example is a perfect square trinomial. Number 3 example. 3 terms din siya. The first term is a perfect square and the last term is a perfect square. Tingnan natin kung ang square root ng ang gitna niya ay tatama dun sa twice the product of the square root of the first term and the last term. Square root of d squared is d. The square root of 225 is 15. D times 15 is 15D. Pag tinimes mo yung 15D ng 2, the answer is 30D. And since our middle term is 50D, which means that our number 3 example is not a perfect square trinomial. Number 4 example. 3 terms, check. The first term is a perfect square, check. Ang last term ay perfect square also, check. So square root of x squared is x. Square root of 1 is 1. Pag tinimes mo si x at saka si 1, that is 1x or simply x. Pag tinimes mo naman si x by 2, that is 2x, which is our middle term. Which means that our number 4 example is a perfect square trinomial. Number 5, trinomial din siya. The first term ay b squared. The last term is 36, parehong perfect square. Square root of b squared is b, and the square root of 36 is 6. Pag tinimes mo si b at saka si 6, the answer is 6b. Pag tinimes mo siya or tinimes mo siya sa 2, 6b times 2 is 12b. But wait, our middle term is 5b. So, that means that our number 5 example is not a perfect square trinomial. What if the given is a perfect square trinomial? Paano naman natin siya ipa-factor? Take the square root daw of the first term. Take the square root of the last term. Use the sign of the middle term, put in parentheses, and square the result. Napakasimple. So let us have this example. X squared plus 4x plus 4. According to step number 1, get the square root of the first term. And that is square root of x squared, which is equal to x. And step number 2, get the square root of the last term. Our last term is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. And step number 3, copy the operation from the middle term, and that is positive. And then, in closed-end parentheses, then square. Okay, so quantity x plus 2 squared is the factored form of x squared plus 4x plus 4. Or you may write also that in a form of quantity x plus 2 times quantity x plus 2. But in your final answer, it should be written in this form. Another example is x squared plus 10x plus 25. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 25 is 5. The middle operation is positive. Simply enclosed in parentheses and square it. That is now the factored form. So let us have more examples. Number 1, r squared minus 8r plus 16. The square root of r squared is r. The square root of 16 is 4, and the middle operation is subtraction. So, the factored form is quantity r minus 4 squared. Next example, x squared minus 14x plus 49. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 49 is 7. The operation from the middle term is subtraction. So, the factored form is x minus 7 squared. Next example is x squared plus 2x plus 1. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 1 is 1. The middle operation is addition. So you have quantity x plus 1 squared. So if you are enjoying to solve or to factor a perfect square trinomial, you have to answer these numbers 1 to 5. Okay, before we end, I want to leave this saying. Nobody has the power to make things perfect, but everyone has been given countless chances to make things right. So, walang taong perpekto, pero binibigyan tayo ng napakaraming chance para gumawa ng tama. So that is all for today. I hope you understand my discussion and congratulations everyone.